In this video, I show you how I took my media day shots from this to this.
Right now!
Most professional sports or even collegiate sports have a dedicated media day sort of before the season starts or before a big event. For me, that's before we kick off the 2025 IMSA season at Daytona. Now, a big goal for me is to be intentional with my process in 2025. That's the word I'm sort of sticking to this year, is being intentional. And in the past, I've treated these media days as sort of not very important. I often travel on them. I don't even go. And when I did go, I sort of treated it as just like I was getting something extra. And so for 2025, I wanted to level up my game and squeeze as much out of that day as I could. I even went so far as to rent my own space so that I can have a complete media setup where I'm uninterrupted for an entire day. Now, my checklist for this included getting interviews to help support my long-form after-movie content, create a series of neutral hero shots that I could use throughout the season, and finally explore ways to put action cams more at the forefront in my content. Now, before the fun stuff begins and we get to Daytona, I had an entire preparation stage at home. I'm a one-man band on these shoots. I don't have anybody helping me, so I have to have everything super dialed in before it's go time. A week before I headed south to Florida, I put the entire setup in my basement so that I could test various angles so that I was ready to go when it was time. My wife was wonderful enough to sit in for me as I tested different angles for my interview setup, and also I put my helmet on her and I tested some different hero shot angles. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that you're always going to have less time than you think to make these shots happen. So being prepared is key. I'm gonna head south. After I get everything set up in Florida, I'll explain what equipment I'm using to make all this happen. All right, and there it is. All right, here's my setup. First things first, key light, Aperture 300D Mark II with a little light dome, sort of softbox. And then this is a Nanlite Pavo 30C. I have one over here as well, but I won't use the one here until this sort of second sort of stage of what we're doing. So basically I'll shoot some interviews first, we'll get through those, and then I'll move this light sort of over to the right or to the left here, have this one a little bit further in, and then we'll shoot some sort of B-roll with the drivers. So I have my two black backdrops as well, little Westcott backdrops. Here are the cameras I'm going to use. I've got my FX3 with a 24-70 on it, probably 50 to 70 mil. And then I've got my gimbal with a 16-28 on it. When I was testing, I really liked the sort of wide, sort of up view from the driver, but then I'll have my 24-70 as sort of the primary view. And I may change it up throughout the interviews, but I think I'll do a side profile shot where I get the light in it as well. I'll change it up probably a few times, but that's where I'm gonna start. I have a full day of shooting and I have 3 clients that I have to move through each stage. First up was the interviews. I think these went off really well. The setup was very similar to my testing. I moved the cameras around a little bit during it so I didn't have the same angles for each person. If I had one criticism, it would be that my hair light was a little too bright, sort of the back shoulder and specifically their hair, the back of their hair. It's a little too predominant, so if I could go back in time, I'd fix that, but it's not the end of the world. After the interviews, it was time to move on to stage 2, the hero shots. I did a variety of moves, both helmet on and off, a lot of times punching into the subject, just walking straight at them. Those Nanlite RGB lights really add a lot of spice to these shots, a lot of accent to these shots, and it's something I would highly recommend if you want to level up your game. I did do some light flashing as well, and you saw my examples at home. I used them for this little transition where Parker is not fully suited up, and then the lights all go out, and when they come back on, he is fully suited up, and I think it turned out really nice. An important tip that I've learned from all of this is that you want to also include some slow shutter stuff. I'm recording at 24 frames per second. I cranked my shutter down to 1/4 of a second, and I did some push-ins, some zooms, and some pans across their suits. This proved to be super instrumental to me in post, and I used them as wipe transitions or just to break up scenes. One of my clients had a scheduling conflict and wasn't able to do these hero shots, which is a real bummer, but thankfully I stayed persistent and I was able to make something happen a little bit later on in the week. Okay, we have fast forwarded in time. It is one day before the Rolex, and I am still sort of on my original media day mission. So just a minute ago, I was whining about not getting some of the headshot stuff I wanted that I had sort of planned on doing that you saw in my test with my wife sort of sitting in. But I'm sort of trying to stay committed to that stuff this year. So if I want something, if I plan for something, doing everything I can to try to get it. In the past, I've sort of, just sort of
turtle shelled and been like, okay, fine, like I can do without it, but I think it'll be really cool, so I really want to do it. So I brought my lights over to the Heart of Racing trailer, and we are going to try to make do. Might even be cooler than the original deal, so here we go.
Sometimes things have a funny way of just sort of perfectly working out. I only had a couple minutes to set up and shoot these hero shots that we missed during the main media activities, but man, was it super worth it. I put my tube lights down on the bench, had one just set to 5600 Kelvin and the other set to an accent light of blue because that's their main colors, and then I just had the driver stand right in between them. And the shots turned out great. There's a lot of dynamic in these shots. It's still very neutral, so I can use it all year long, and I was super pleased. Same as before, I did a lot of slow shutter stuff, which I really thought spiced up the edit, and I'll show you what that looks like in just a minute. Okay, so media day. I didn't show a lot more BTS after than setting up. It was crazy. The stuff that I did yesterday definitely was better than the stuff that I did last year. So in that way, I'm happy. I'm a little disappointed I didn't sort of get what I wanted, but at the same time, it's still what I would consider a step up from last year. So I am here early today, Friday. I am committed to trying to find places to put these action cams. So I'm gonna walk in the garage, walk on pit lane, and I would really love to get this on a wheel gun or on a helmet of a crew guy. So I'm gonna go check those out and see if I can find some spots to put these things. I've said this a lot on social media already, but a big goal for me in 2025 is to find new and unique ways to use action cameras. Now, we have a lot of strict rules in racing that we're not ever allowed to have these on or inside the car during actual on-track sessions, so you're a little bit forced to be creative with how you make this happen. Now, I am allowed to have them on the car in the paddock area, and that's exactly what I did. I found some cool angles of the car where I was able to have the camera on there and show a little bit of the surroundings, but I was able to fake that it was at speed in post. This rear quarter panel shot felt like a statement to me. It felt like I was finally getting the hang of how to use these things, and I think the shots ended up looking really, really good. I was also able to get some of the exhaust, the rear brakes, and the wing while the car was in the paddock as well. For the autograph session, I had a little small rig clamp and had one on the Sharpie so that you could see when they were signing autographs, and I thought that looked really nice. I also had a chest and a helmet mount on some of the crew guys, and I was able to capture a lot of content during their practice pit stops. I'll do a full video on how I mount these and the settings and everything later, but the short of it is I used the Falcam F22 suction cup and arms. I have a few random small rig pieces as well. The camera settings I use, I always shoot in 24 frames per second. I have a 1/50 shutter. I'm at ISO 100. I have stabilization completely turned off, and I'm always shooting in D-Log. Now, the real question at the end of the weekend for me was all of this effort worth it? And in my opinion, 100% yes. The climb was absolutely worth the view on this. And to sort of put my money where my mouth is, here is a sort of intro sequence to one of the after movies that I made after the event, which is almost completely comprised of all of the shots that you've seen me do in this video.
The Rolex 24 is magic.
They're racing for the Rolex.
And that's because when you start the season, you always have the feeling that this could be the best year of my life.
And the 24-hour starts right now.
I hope you find this sort of talking head recap style video helpful, and if you did, please hit the like button. I intended on doing more BTS, of course, when I was there, but again, as a one-man band, my focus is on my work, and it's not always easy with the scheduling to think about hitting a BTS camp. Usually I'm on the go and I'm sort of in my work. Next video on this channel is going to be a full Daytona vlog from the actual race day, sort of what my day looks like when covering a 24-hour race. I also head to Qatar next week for the first World Endurance Championship race, and it's also the first race where we're sort of unveiling the Valkyrie hypercar, so I'm really looking forward to that. Plenty of content coming down the pipe in the next couple weeks over here on YouTube. If you want to see more BTS stuff, you can follow me over on Instagram, but I appreciate you watching, and I will see you in the next one.